Welcome to CEO Confidential from Frank Pagano and Pierangelo Soldavini.
Welcome to this new episode of CEO Confidential. We are talking today about marketing and leadership in the luxury world.
And we have the pleasure to have with us a true artist, a maestro. Let me say that, Max. Actually, as a matter of fact, right off the bat, Max, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do for a living?
Oh, wow. The elevator pitch, that's a tough one. I was a hyper-creative kid who was very weird and therefore didn't have any friends and suffered a lot of that. And to try and become normal, I became a very boring young adult. And then luckily for me, I fell into high-end mechanical watchmaking 30 years ago when nobody wanted any more mechanical watchmaking. And it took me the better part of 15 years to get my mojo back and realize that being different, being weird is great. And that I was actually an entrepreneur when I didn't know I was one. So 15 years ago, I created a little creative lab, horological creative lab called MB&F, Maximilian Büsser and Friends. And we've been creating kinetic art ever since.
Let's talk about MB&F, exactly as you mentioned. What is the idea behind it? How was the journey? And how is it going now with COVID-19, if I can ask?
It's a life decision, MB&F. It's not a business decision. It's the realization in therapy after my dad passed away that the most important day in my life was going to be the last one. The one where I look back and say, I'm proud of myself or not. And I realized to be proud of myself, I had to be able to create what I believed in and not look at the market. So MB&F is my autobiography. It's my psychotherapy. It's creating 3D kinetic art using watchmaking. So watchmaking saved my life, gave me a purpose. I give it back. 15 years later, we've created what we call 18 calibers, 18 movements, completely new concepts. The brand I created with my little savings. And I put everything in the company and worked all alone from my little flat for 2.5 years. And we nearly went bankrupt just before we managed to deliver the first piece. Luckily, we managed to deliver those first 2 pieces. And we've had our ups and downs. We've had 4 really difficult years, all very decorrelated. They were not the same reasons. Luckily, it means I'm not a too bad entrepreneur. And COVID in March this year, I was terrified. I thought it was game over. Because I had this vision that this is going to last for 2 years, which probably it will, by the way. And I thought all my retailers are closed. All my employees have to send home. All my subcontractors are closed. It's game over. And something incredible happened. We are at the end of September in our record sellout here, meaning the highest amount of sales ever of our products from our retail partners. And where it's gearing up to be our best ever year. I'm not exactly sure why. There are probably many reasons, but this is where I'm standing in front of you 6 months after March, where I thought it was game over.
I have a philosophical question for you, and I know you hate this word. So what is luxury today, and especially with dilemmas like new technologies or sustainability? Is this changing the 4 Ps of luxury, the marketing mix of luxury?
Now, it's true that I have a big issue with the word luxury, because I think that it's completely misused and overused. The luxury for a billion people tonight will be having something to eat in this world. A couple of billion people's luxury will be to spend more time with their children and family. And we're thinking only of price points. and it shouldn't be about price points. But coming back to we call it high-end, ultra high-end industry domain, clearly technology has had an enormous impact on us. First of all, on the way we consume as consumers. How do we consume information? I don't have to talk to all the people in the media world, how they're running right, left, and center, trying to understand how to deal with this. I was speaking the other day with somebody from Range Rover who was telling me that 10 years ago, in average, a customer would come to a Range Rover or Land Rover dealership 7 times before he bought a car. Now he comes twice, because all the work has been done on the digital forefront. So of course that's happening. Selling, something absolutely incredible happened last night. We woke up this morning, we did a big launch yesterday, and we woke up this morning to a customer who we never heard of, who was not an MB&F customer, and bought a €150,000 watch online, put in basket, pay, and we don't know who that person is. Now, is that going to be the majority of our business? I don't think so at all. But I think we in the ultra high end or the high end, we should have given that option way before to our customers. I think we've been incredibly arrogant because we wanted to give them the, how will you call this? The luxury experience, meaning you have to come into our retail partner, into our boutique, and we will give you that experience before you can actually have one of our pieces. Well, guess what? Why? Imagine you're living in the middle of Ohio in the US, and you want to get a beautiful piece of any brand, and you don't have a retailer in your city. What do you have to do? You take an airplane, go to a city, take a hotel room, then in the morning, next morning, not at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, you can't come at 9 because we're closed. You have to come at 10, and then you take a taxi, arrive to our place, and what is the experience? When I give you a coffee and a chocolate. I mean, seriously, why can't that person be at home at any given time and say, put in basket and buy? So I think this is, of course, going to disrupt a lot the way, and of course, COVID completely changed that because we're all blocked at home, how we're going to consume. The other way technology has impacted us is in production. And that is something which is not talked about a lot. It's incredible. We're not talking of what we do. We do super high-end hand craftsmanship, ultra high-end engineering pieces in very few pieces. Yeah, we craft about 200 pieces a year. That's it. I mean, most of the big brands do between 50,000 to 1 million. And so you realize that it is so much easier to create an electric car than to create a V12 engine. So what it means is that the human capital, the knowledge, that capital which was brought from one mentor to one apprentice, which was enabling a very few amount of people to create something very high-end, is now something which is much more democratized. And if it's not that difficult to make, then is it going to be as rare and as desirable? So you really have to be careful of that. And the other point which I find really interesting is that we've sort of accepted that with technology entering our life, obsolescence has entered our life. When you used to buy a very high-end product, whatever it was, a suit, a car, a piece of engineering, a watch, it was because one of the many reasons it was going to last much longer, because the engineering was much better. Now, you buy this, pay $1,000, and in 2 years, it's completely okay that you have to throw it away. And even if it still works, you're going to throw it away because you want the new one to show off that you've got the new one. And so technology has, in my mind, really reshaped the domain, not exactly in the way I feel comfortable, and it doesn't speak to me, but that's the way it is.
Max, I would like to stay on this issue of the democratization of luxury, or the ultra high-end industry, as you define it. Should it stay an exclusive niche of the market, or should it open to a larger fruition, especially, as you said, in this new world after the COVID emergency?
I think that boat has sailed a long time ago. 20 years ago, approximately, the luxury brands, which were getting more and more important and became groups often, realized that if you only speak to knowledgeable clients, those who actually know the intrinsic value of your product, your market is this big. And that they had to get out of that and start speaking to status-driven customers who do not actually know that well, or don't even want to know that well, how the product was made. And that has actually multiplied by 10, 20, 50, at least in my industry, the watch world, the amount of clients. It has a lot of fringe, not benefits, but fringe effects, which means that more and more customers are not aware of the quality of what they're buying. And therefore, there's a decorrelation between the quality of the product and the desirability, because the status has been driving it. Of course, I'm very lucky my clients are not part of that. My clients are incredible geeks, and I say that with enormous affection, because I'm a geek myself. The other thing which I think we've noticed over the years, and that's probably due to social media, is the, how do you say that? The standardization of tastes. 20 years ago, a Japanese would want a watch like this, an American a watch like that, a Middle Eastern like this, an Italian like that. And there were really very different tribes with different tastes. Today, all those people want the same product. And this sort of standardization has increased the democratization of it. Social media being, of course, one of the powering motors behind it. But also what's happened, and I find really interesting, is that before we wanted a very high-end product because it was a great product. Now what I'm seeing is most customers don't want because it's a great product, because most of the time they don't know what is a great product. They want it because they can't get it. And that is what I've been seeing over the last 5 years, is the high-end customer is just looking for what he can't get. And there's a fringe to that, is what he can't get is actually being speculative, and you can resell more expensive, be it an XYZ bag, pair of sneakers, or a watch, etc. And so that has brought another whole group of people into this industry who we're not interested in a mechanical watch, but now that you're being told, well, if you buy that, you can actually resell it and make money. It's become an alternative asset factor. And so the democratization has happened, and is the high-end products are speaking to way more people than were before, because we've left the core customer base.
And of course, in this new environment, storytelling is more crucial than ever, and is changing dramatically in this new world. How are you treating and managing a digital, remote, and open source world at MB&F?
Well, I must admit that we have been in the real storytelling. I'll sort of discern. For me, storytelling is when you explain why your company exists and how it does things. The why and the how is way more important than the what.